Back in the days when the waves were rougher, but the sea was sweeter, there lived a humble hunter who had a very big family, but a very small house, and they were very poor. His name was Sven, and one day he went out hunting wild boar, or wild pig, and he got his bow and arrow and tried to hunt some pig for the family. But, you know, every time he tried to shoot the pig was too fast for him. And he was about to give up just as the sun was coming down, and he let off one last arrow, which just nicked the pig's tail and chopped his tail off. But the pig ran away. So Sven got this tail, and that was all the meat that his family would have, maybe for a week. And so he sat down and started to cry. And then an old man approached him and said, "What are you crying about, young son?" And Sven told him all the hardships he had been through. And the old man said, "Well, see those caves up there? In those caves are some goblins, the most despicable, horrid little creatures you've ever seen. But those goblins have a salt grinder." "Okay," said Sven, "I haven't got any salt. I don't know what a salt grinder is going to do." No, but this is a magic salt grinder. If you get the salt grinder off them, it can make any food you've ever wanted. But the goblins, though, don't know it's magical. So offer them your pig's tail, and they'll happily trade you their salt grinder for the pig's tail. And so Sven went up to the mountains into the cave, and as soon as he entered, he was surrounded by goblins. And they saw the pigtail. "Give us the pigtail. Give us your pigtail." "Only if you give me your salt grinder," said Sven. "All right." And the goblins got the grinder and gave him the grinder. And Sven slowly stepped back. As he stepped back out of the cave, he threw the pigtail in and ran down the hill. Now when he got to the bottom, the old man was still there. And the old man said to him, "Well, in order to use that grinder, you must utter the magical words." Now you know how some people don't listen to what you're saying? It's in one ear, out the other. Yeah. Well, luckily Sven wasn't one of those people. He listened to what he was told. And so he learned the instructions and then went home. And he put the salt grinder on the table, gathered his family around, and said the magic words. "Grinder, oh grinder, from behind the door, grind me a fine meal." And the grinder lifted up and started grinding and grinding and grinding. And as it was grinding, food appeared underneath it. A big banquet full of meat and vegetables and bread. It was delicious. And when they had enough food, Sven said, "Grinder, oh grinder, from behind the door, thank you for grinding. Grind no more." And the grinder stopped grinding and slowly went down. But you know, they discovered that this grinder couldn't just grind food. It also could create clothing. It could create gold. It could create furniture. Anything they ever wanted, it could create. And so very soon they became very wealthy, and they had everything they ever needed. And after a while, they started using the grinder less and less, and so they shared it with the rest of the village that they lived in. And very soon, the whole village became quite wealthy and well off, and everyone was always happy. Many years passed, and then one day, an old sea captain came to see Sven, because he'd heard about the salt grinder. And he said, "Does your grinder create salt?" "Yes," said Sven. "It's a magic salt grinder. It can do salt." "Very well then, I be buying that grinder off you," said the captain. Now at first Sven didn't want to sell it, but eventually he decided, well, you know, we've had this for a long time. We don't need it anymore. The village is quite well off. Maybe it would be good if it went around and saw the world, shared the wealth to other people. And so he sold the grinder to the captain. And he started telling the captain the instructions on how to make it grind and create food. You know what I was saying before about in one ear, out the other? That was the captain. He only listened to half of what he was told. And so as soon as the captain had bought the grinder, he raced off, got on his boat, and started sailing away before Svein could change his mind. And that night, the captain put the grinder down and said the magic words. "Grinder, oh grinder, from behind the door, grind me some salt." So he lifted up and started grinding and grinding and grinding until a whole bowl was full of salt. "Very well, stop." It kept grinding. "I said stop." It kept grinding. "Grinder or grinder from behind the door, stop." It kept on grinding and grinding. He could not get the right words. And he was grinding and grinding and grinding until the bowl overflowed, the table overflowed, the whole room filled up, the boat started to fill up, and so the boat started tipping and tossing and turning, and slowly, slowly, from all the salt, the boat slowly sank, taking with it the grinder and captain to the bottom of the ocean. And so they say that to this day, the grinder is still grinding away. And that is why the sea is salty.